Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA front office show. It's just me today. No Trevor Laney, still on his well earned vacation. He will be back with us here in this spot on Monday. I believe he'll be back to his regular Lakers coverage tomorrow, is the plan, hopefully, for that. So he'll be back in your lives here pretty soon, regularly over on Lakers Nation and here on Front Office Show next week. But it's Friday, so you know what that means. It's Front Office Friday. I don't really like setting myself up for that, so I miss my boy for that. But we're going to have a little bit of fun here today. Get your questions loaded into the chat, and we'll start pulling from there. We'll start with the unfortunate news coming out of the All-Star break that Victor Wembanyama is out for this season with a blood clot, a deep vein thrombosis is what they called it. I've seen a lot of people talk about this is like Chris Bosh. Like it isn't the same thing as Chris Bosh. That's the good news for Wembanyama here. So this is much more like Brandon Ingram. Where he had a very similar type of thing, underwent surgery for it. He's had other injury issues since, but has not had any kind of recurrence of this injury. So that's very, very good news for the Spurs. They're saying this should be a one-time thing, and Victor Wembanyama should be back for the start of next season. So I think there is good news with that he is probably going to be back, starting next year. I think he'll probably miss Eurobasket this summer for France. I don't know that for certain. It's too early to know, but that would be my guess. So I think that's probably where we're headed with that. So we just wanted to start there and talk about that with Wemby being out. So I think that is a obviously a tough break for him, tough break for the Spurs, tough break for basketball fans, quite frankly, because we're all going to miss him quite a bit. He's such a fun, special player. Let's see, we got a question coming in here. If Wemby injury was known before the trade deadline, would the Spurs have traded for Fox this year? I think they would have, because the deal they got for him was so good. They didn't have to give up any of their own primary players in the trade. They were able to get off of Zach Collins' contract in that trade. So that was big. They didn't have to take back bad money in that trade, and they were able to keep all their very best draft picks as well. So that's huge for the Spurs. I think they would have just kind of played it out that way, and I think they'll go forward with that there. And I think it is what it is, right? You make a trade with the information at the time. It's the same as if you trade for a player and he gets injured like a week later. You didn't know that was going to happen when you traded for the guy, and it is what it is. So I think we're in a spot with the Spurs where they're happy to have made the De'Aaron Fox trade, and they'll move forward now with him. We got another question here. Do you think they shut down Fox to fix his hand? I think there's a chance we could see De'Aaron Fox get shut down here, but probably later, maybe once we get into mid to late March. So roughly, let's call it a month from now. Maybe we could see De'Aaron Fox get shut down with that one. So we'll see. Where that goes. It might just be more of, hey, we're not going to play back to backs. We're not going to go. I don't know what his hand injury needs. I don't know if he needs surgery, if it's just rest will cover this, and that will get him where he needs to be. But we'll see with that. We'll stick with the Spurs related questions here. Will CP3 get bought out now? I don't think so. I don't think he wants a buyout. I think he's happy to stay with the Spurs. I think he's probably going to stay there. I'm sure there'll be some level of conversation with him if that hasn't happened already of, hey, do you want to get let go? He makes under the non-taxpayer mid-level, so he could sign with anyone where he could go out and just kind of go into a place where he joins on with a contender that has a roster spot for the minimum for the rest of this year, most likely. But I think Chris Paul is more in a spot where he committed to the Spurs, and I think they'll kind of keep him and just kind of keep things moving there. So I don't think we're going to see him get bought out. I think we'll be in a spot where we see him finish out the year with the Spurs, and then we'll kind of see where it goes after that. They didn't trade him after getting De'Aaron Fox. I think they're going to move forward with him. And then let's see, we'll close out here with the Spurs related questions. Can they get Cooper now? they're going to be in the lottery. I think they were going to be in the lottery anyway. I don't think they were going to make it into the playoffs. So, but yeah, I mean, they're in a position where they're going to lose more games without Victor for sure. And that means they'll probably move into a position where they'll maybe move up a little bit. They've kind of created a little bit of distance with how well they've played already to this point. So I'm not entirely sure. We're going to see them go into a major place where they move way up in the lottery standings, but it's certainly possible that they could if a couple of these teams continue to play better than expected down the stretch. But I think for now, we'll go from there. All right, we'll kind of change into a change of course here a little bit, Wemby related. Andreas is asking, who do you have winning Depoy now? There is a couple other people asked the same question. Yeah, this is going to be a major question mark out there now for this one. So I think it's going to be maybe Jaren Jackson Jr., which would be huge for the Grizzlies. He could be in the mix. I think Evan Mobley will be in that mix as well. He's played really well for the Cavs. I think you could see, if the Wolves go on a run down the stretch here, Rudy Gobert's had another really good defensive season, as he seemingly always does. So I think, we're in a spot where we could see that, move forward with those guys with that. So guys, I'm going to start collecting questions here so that way I hopefully won't miss any down the from y'all as we go. Again, flying solo today. Trevor's still on vacation. He'll be back when we get back into the swing of things fully next summer. Or next summer. Wow, that would be something. Next week. Sorry, I was reading a question about the summer. There. So yeah, next week Trevor will be back. Let's not let's clear that up. We'll see him back here next week on Monday is the plan for now. Let's see here. Flashhawk says, with these new rules regarding the aprons, buyout seems pretty dry. It's about the same as it always is. People have romanticized what the buyout market is. It rarely delivers really good players there from that. So I don't know that we'll be in a spot where we see, major guys ever hit the buyout market again. If you make more than 12.8 million this year, it'll be about 14 million next year. If you make more money than that, you're not eligible to sign with, any of the apron teams. So that's not going to be something I don't think we're going to see, anybody kind of take those buyouts. That's why you've seen some of the guys who are on big contracts, their bird rights are more valuable to them than taking a buyout is. So I don't think we're going to see those guys go into a major place there. Where they're jumping into buyouts. Let's see. Just marking off a bunch of questions. So just give me a second. All right. So we'll get into some of the questions that we have piled in here. Benefactum. Missed y'all. Can LA still wave to and sign to? Yeah, I think they still have enough room for that. I can double check. Let me look here. Yeah, they're close. They could within, let's call it another 2-3 weeks. They could still waive one more player and sign. They don't have room for 2 veteran minimum signings right now under the second apron if they wanted to go that direction, but they will within a couple more weeks, or probably about 3-ish more weeks. They'll be able to do that. Definitely by the end of the season, they would be able to do that. For now, we'll see. I don't know that that's going to be the direction they go, but we'll see with that. Let's see. Tyler K asks, what's the future of the Suns now at 26-29 outside the playing with the hardest remaining schedule in the league? They're just going to have to continue to push forward. They're not in a position to shut guys down. They don't have anybody with kind of nagging injuries. We're going to talk about teams that could shut some guys down. Now, if somebody picks something up, sure, they could say, forget it, let's just pivot. But you got to remember, they don't have their pick. They don't have any kind of control of their draft pick this year. So there's nothing to benefit them by any means from shutting guys down. They'll continue to push, and they're only a couple games behind the Kings and the Warriors for the final spot in the play-in tournament. And I think the Suns, with those veteran players that they have, are a kind of team that feels like, hey, we could, make a run. If we get into the play-in, and win, we could certainly make a run through this period of games. It really just kind of, push through and kind of go through that. But we'll see. I'm not entirely sure there. Where that goes. But we'll see, with this. Let's see. So we'll pull this one up. Michael C says 25 games for painkillers seems super excessive. This was the other big news that dropped yesterday. Bobby Portis is going to be suspended, he started it last night. He's suspended for 25 games. And then there's a question from YYC who says, do you think the 25 game suspension they gave Portis is excessive? Yes, but this is what they do. If you violate the banned substances policy as a first-time offender, you're going to get 25 games. John Collins a couple years ago got 25 games. It almost doesn't really matter what the circumstances were around that, but they that's what you get. You get 25 games. So we'll see, with that one, where that ultimately goes at the end of the day. But this is what it is. For the Bucks, they started Kyle Kuzma and Taurean Prince last night in a big lineup alongside Giannis and Brook Lopez and obviously Dame. I don't know that that's going to be the way they continue this the rest of the way. I think they're going to have to be very kind of cautious with maybe they go odd. Andre Jackson Jr. didn't play a minute last night. That's a little weird. He's their best perimeter defender by a very wide margin. I think they're going to maybe go back to him down the line, put Kuzma or Prince on the bench and kind of use them as the third big, if you will, very much in quotations, to replace Portis for now with Giannis and Brook Lopez in a 3 big rotation. They tried Jericho Sims, and he didn't really look very good. He hasn't been very good to this point in his career. So I think we're just in a spot where we're going to see this really kind of become the Bucks are going to have to patchwork this together. They're probably going to add another big. How it works for Milwaukee now is they have one open roster spot that has been assumed to be going to Ryan Rollins, who's been their best backup point guard behind Damian Lillard this year. So that would be where that goes. But once Bobby Portis has been out for 5 games, they can transition him to the suspended list for the 6th game. And then what they can do is put or sign another player and go above. They've got more than enough room to go get somebody. It's going to cost them some tax dollars to go do that. So keep an eye on the bigs. I tweeted out a long list of big men that they could potentially take a look at. It's not very exciting. I think any of the Lakers fans in here know the available big man list is it's not exactly flush with stars there. Few different questions along this line. Chatty House from over on Twitter, thanks for joining there, says, do you think Kyrie stays in Dallas after this year? I do. I think Kyrie has finally found his basketball happiness, if I can put it that way. He just looks like a very comfortable, different player. He's talked about how much he learned from his time in Cleveland and Boston and Brooklyn and how much it means to him to be in Dallas playing good basketball. So I do think you're going to see him really just kind of stick in Dallas and stay there. And they're going to build that thing at least for the next, call it 3 to 4 years around Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis, and then fill it out with the rest of the guys. They've got, obviously Derek Lively, PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford. Maybe a move happens within that group to kind of round out the team a little bit, but that's going to be the way they kind of move this thing forward. So I can't see any way Kyrie Irving leaves the Mavs this summer. I think they're going to step up and give him a max, and that'll be where it goes from there. Let's see. Jason M. What are the Sixers doing? Both Embiid and PJ have said they are playing through injuries and will probably need surgery, complete mismanagement. So what that's related to is after their game last night, they got blitzed by the Celtics. They said both Embiid and Paul George, basically Embiid for the second time in, about a week and a half long span here, said, I'm going to need more surgery on my knee. But he went more in depth on it where he said, I'm going to need it to get back to even being the player I was before. And that's going to be a challenge for Joel Embiid, in that it's going to be a spot where, what are we playing him for? He needs that surgery. Get it now. Let him start recovering. Let him start getting ready to come back. And then Paul George talked about, he didn't reference a specific injury. He's got a finger thing going on, but he's been playing through knee stuff all year. he talked about how he needs pain killing injections to just keep playing with this. So my thing, and I tweeted this earlier today, posted it on Blue Sky as well. It's time to shut these guys down, move in a different direction, really restart, and just kind of not move in a different direction, meaning trade these guys. But the rest of this year, there's a couple questions about can they tank to kind of land in a spot where they keep their pick? Certainly possible. They're not too far off. Again, reminder that that pick is top 6 protected, or it goes to probably the Thunder is where it'll most likely land. There's some conditions around the way that could go, but it'd be likely to the Thunder. Philly's in a spot. You want to be probably 5th worst record just to protect if one team jumps you. You don't lose the pick by sliding back one spot. So it's but yeah, it's none of this is good for the Sixers. They're going to be in a tough spot. They're going to have to really sort through and figure some stuff out. But for me, I would let Embiid and George shut them down, get surgery, rehab, whatever it is they need, and then just start moving forward. Play your kids the rest of the way, see what it looks like, and then just come back next year and really get into it. Because I'm going to pause to get a quick drink. Thank you. Appreciate that. Let's see here. Hanson says the Thunder don't need any more picks. Yeah, that is definitely true. They need more picks. Like I need more cake. Let's see here. Andreas asks, which player do you think will fly up draft boards during the actual draft process like J-Dub and Pat Williams have previously? Rasheer Fleming from St. Joe's is a guy I really like quite a bit in this draft. I think we're going to see him really get into a place where once teams see more of him and get him in their facility, I think they're going to fall in love with him. The big question is the jump shot real for him or not? Like if that is a real thing for Rasheer Fleming, then yeah, I think that will be that'll put him maybe even late lottery, but definitely in the first round for sure. But he's a really, really good player, really good all-around player. St. Joe's has had a little bit of a rough season, but yeah, they're going to be okay. If he could go on a big postseason run through the conference tournament and even into the NCAA tournament, that would be absolutely huge for him, and his draft stock, because he's, that's a chance to really stand out on a major level for teams to see and just kind of fall in love with him even more. Jason's asking who is my guy in this draft. So when I call the guys I call my guys, it's guys I'm much higher on than the general consensus right now. That's Janai Broome of Auburn. I think Janai Broome could and should be a guy who's in consideration for the late lottery. There, I really like his game. I think he fits what you want as an all-around big in the NBA today. Really good passer. He's a good rebounder. Decent rim protector there. Somebody I really, really enjoy with that. Yeah, I love it. I love the draft questions. I just, if you guys are interested, it's free and unlocked for everybody at the Basketball Bulletin. My updated big board is out, and I'm about 70-ish players deep into that big board right now. So you could go look for updated scouting notes on every single player I have a first round grade on. Right now, there's about 35% 35 guys that I have first round grades on right now. So then that'll continue to refine as we go. But Regulator asks Ace over Dylan. Not for me. I've got Dylan Harper ahead of him. He's just a little bit more consistent, and I really like the things he's done. I really like Ace Bailey. They're 2-3 on my board, but that is a change from the start of the draft process for me, where I kind of moved Dylan Harper in front of Ace Bailey, where I had Ace Bailey maybe contending with Cooper Flagg if Flagg had slipped and Bailey had played well for the first pick in the draft. Now we're in a spot where I think it's now Dylan Harper in that second spot, but Cooper's on a tier of his own. He's going to stay on a tier of his own. There's no one even close. He has been unbelievable. Yeah, let's hit a like spike here. DP says it. Flash Hawk, don't forget to hit that like button. Really does help us quite a bit, guys. Helps people find the show over on YouTube. So we're going there. Too Loose Goose says, I miss Trevor. Yeah, me too. I really don't like flying solo on these shows. I miss my buddy. I miss just kind of hanging out here with with my guy here. Doing what we normally do here. We'll get back into some more of the questions now. Let's see here. Would Anthony Davis be? It's ineligible for Depoy, Defensive Player of the Year. Yes, he will be ineligible. He's not going to have enough games played. You have to hit 65 games played. He's very, very unlikely to hit that marker, and we might even be closing in on him not being there yet. Let's see. Related, Chatty House, what are your thoughts on Luka signing an extension? I think he will. I think he will sign a extension as soon as he can with the Lakers to do what he can do to get that extension. There's no real doubt in my mind with that. So I think we'll definitely get there for him extension wise. Regulated is the DPE, so that's the disabled player exception, limited to one per team this year. No limit there. You just have to apply. But the big thing with the disabled player exception, player has to be more likely than not to be out for the remainder of the season with that. So that's what you have to find there. So we'll see with that one. Let's go here. Mike Johnson, should the league implement a rule where teams don't qualify for the play-in tournament if there are a certain amount of games below 500? Either that or the games back rule that they used in the bubble season. I really liked that because I don't understand the need for, hey, let's give this team even a shot at making the postseason if they're 20 games back, 10 games back. I don't know where you call that, Mark. Probably 8 to 10 games behind, because that's just, you backed into it. They're not going to, though, because they sold those play-in tournament rights to the TV partners for big money that wanted to buy those. So they're not going to do any changes on that. That's going to kind of stay the way it was there. Andre Dawson, what do you think about JJ's comments about LeBron playing back-to-backs at 40? I didn't see it. Andrew says, I took it to be more of an encouragement messaging to Luka. I'll be honest, I did not see the comments. I'm sure they were, complimentary of LeBron still playing this deep. But yeah, I don't know. I think they all kind of know who it is, and the way it is with Luka and LeBron. LeBron is ridiculously conditioned athlete, even this late into his career. I don't know that they're sending any real message to Luka in any way there. At least I wouldn't from that. Let's see. Trevor swimming with turtles. He may very well be. Trevor's on a well earned vacation. YYC asks, do you still have faith in Reed Shepherd? I do. Guards can take a little while to figure it out. I'd like to see Houston start giving him more time. They've got more than enough defensive players to cover for him, at least in regular season games. And they go through these stretches in games, especially when Fred VanVleet has been out. The offense just bogs down. It's been really bad. So I would like to see them throw Reed Shepherd on the floor and see what he can do a little bit. He's looked really good in the G League games he's played. I think there's a lot of talent. So I would definitely like to see him playing more in the NBA for sure. I don't want to be there. Let's see. Trevor Cruise Lane. Yeah, that is true. He was on a cruise at least. I think he still is. Should the Grizz trade John Morant in the offseason? I wouldn't, unless they flame out in the first round of the playoffs. I know that was speculated by some executives that might be where they go. That seem to be around. They're really expensive. If they re-sign Jaren Jackson Jr. to a big contract, they're going to be even more expensive. Can they afford 3 max guys or near max guys and Jackson, Bane, and Morant? But you don't trade a talent as special as John Morant without really improving your team moving forward. And they haven't been as good without him. So I certainly wouldn't do it. Zach Kleiman came out and said that's fantasy stuff that's come out from other people with that, other executives and whatnot, and he basically shot that down. So we'll see with that one. MJ, should the Timberwolves be an expensive team, and assuming Randall opts in his player option, how likely is it that one or both of Naz Reid or Nickeil Alexander-Walker become cap casualties. Maybe Alexander Walker. A lot of that would depend on, do they feel like Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon are really ready to take the next step forward and be main rotation players. They sneakily, right before the break, started giving a lot of minutes to Jalen Clark, too. And that might have been the idea of another wing guard type player who could be potentially a replacement for Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So I think, we'll see how that goes. I'll be right back. This nonstop talking. I talk a lot anyway, but nonstop talking without Trevor here is taking a toll. I need to keep pausing to get drinks. So yeah, that could have been a look. Can Clark hold up? What does it look like? He's a guy on a two-way deal. See somebody they look to convert later this year and get on a long-term deal. So that'd be the question. But I don't think they're going to let Naz Reid go. I think they love everything he's brought them as really the third big in a three big rotation that all plays starter level minutes. I don't think you're going to see Naz Reid go anywhere. I think what's more likely is they re-sign Naz Reid, they stay expensive, and they look for a trade for Julius Randle. So we'll see, kind of how that goes down the line there. With that, let's see here. Just checking for more questions. Can we use the DPE to sign someone in place of Trevor for a 10-day? I mean, we could, but there's really no reason to. He's not injured. He's just out. He's taking the LeBron midseason vacation. That's all it is. Let's see. What would have happened if this is from Mo. Let's say the trade for Mark Williams was rescinded, but the Lakers made moves after it before the trade deadline and had no roster spots afterwards. So I actually reached out and asked on this. I asked someone in the league, and they would have been required to immediately get into roster compliance, meaning they had to take back both Dalton Connect and Cam Reddish. They didn't have a roster spot. They would have had to waive somebody immediately to get back into roster compliance. So the league would have given them the ability to do that, but they would have had to do that. So we'll see if that situation ever comes up. We're in a fortunate place where we have not had the dominoes like that where a player gets failed. But again, this is why some teams don't want to do trades that close to the trade deadline because of this. They really want to get into a place where it is just get our work done early. So that way if something pops up, we can either pivot to another move or at least we're not stuck on the back end. DP says, Keith, get that Dasani or Fiji money. Yeah, no doubt. If any water companies are listening and want to sponsor, let's go. Right now, I drink mostly Propel. But yeah, let's go. I'll take, let's go. Hit us up at Front Office Show. We would love to have it. Let's see. Flashhawk asks, do you think the NBA should change the rules to allow one two-way guy to automatically be on their playoff roster? I don't, because that's just going to hurt the two-way player. What would happen there is the team would then just not convert them. And that means that guy's missing out on a standard contract and more money. If you want a guy, find out a way to make it happen and get him converted to a standard deal. I think the two-way rules are actually fine the way they are. I don't think we really need to change them. T asks, what improvements do you think your Celtics need for the playoffs? I think it's mostly just about health for them. I think they've got everything they need to kind of keep things moving forward and to be really good when they've played the better teams in the league, especially on the road. Teams like Cleveland and New York very recently, just before the All-Star break, they handled both of those teams pretty easily. They really took care of Philly last night with almost no issues. So it's about health and it's about getting there where they want to be. They're at the arc of their team where it's all about the postseason. They are not trying to win, 60 plus regular season games. They're not trying to be the first seed every year and pushing really hard. It's just, let's keep moving it forward and keep going with that. So, I think that is, I think they're okay. I don't think there's not a whole lot you can do with that. So we'll, to improve the team. So I think it's mostly about get healthy and be ready for the playoffs there. Luke asks, what teams do you think are going to be shedding salary next year? That's a good question. There's always a few. I wouldn't be surprised if Orlando is a team that gets off a little bit of money next year. Let's see what happens with Boston. If they don't make it to the finals again or don't win the title, I do think you're going to see them start to reset a little bit just because the second apron position is so hard to work around for a team multiple years in a row. I think you could see Miami get off a little bit of money next year. Cleveland's a team that, one of those wings will probably not be there next year out of Hunter, Okoro, and Max Strus. So they're probably going to move guys. Denver's always a good bet for this. And then the biggest one of all is Phoenix. I don't think there's any chance you see Phoenix stay as expensive as they are. I'm like, you're going to really see them move some guys with that. With that team, probably if we're going to believe all the reports, probably starting with Kevin Durant with that one. So Tyler K asked, how do you think the NBA should improve All-Star Weekend? I liked the mini tournament. I thought it was fun. I think there's ways you could tweak that. I think you could bring in some form of maybe a world team into that. If there's 8 all international all-stars, put them all on the same team and then have a world component. So I think that would be really interesting if they did that. My main fix would be stop putting people on TV and giving people microphones that clearly don't like the NBA very much, because trashing the game all the way through was really ridiculous. And you put those people on the air and basically said, "Hey, let them, really kind of, let's rip it all apart and say all the nonsense other people say." So I didn't like that. And then it was just so long on Sunday. The pauses in between games, the pause in the middle of the final game to do the TNT, like, hey, thanks. And those guys deserve all the love in the world. It's not my favorite show, but I've enjoyed it over the years too, and a lot of people like that. So, it's fun. So let's give them all kinds of love and shower them with attention. And I had no issue, but man, we did not need that to be like 20 minutes of that when they were in the middle of the final game. And the players came out and said so themselves, where they were like, we didn't have time to warm back up. And a bunch of guys were like, we weren't going to open it back up after that break and go really hard because nobody wants to get hurt. When anyone complains about players getting injured or players not playing hard, I always counter with, what if your favorite team's best player got injured at the All-Star game and missed the rest of the season or missed significant time down the stretch? You'd be mad and be like, I don't want that. So you got to really just kind of, back off. Let's shine the light on the game, have fun with it, and go. Again, I think I thought it was fun with the stuff that they had there, where it was let's have a little bit of fun at the the tournament. I thought that was good. So we just need to get into a better place with that. David asked Celtics what happens with their salary. I think if Boston was to repeat as the champions or make another run of the finals, I think they would run it back for the most part. If they lose early in the playoffs, meaning second round, or they get beat easily in the conference finals, and there's not like major injuries involved, then I think you're going to see them look around and say, all right, we got to change things up. We need to go in a slightly different direction here. And that'll be where you'll start to see them reset a little bit with some of their guys. David asked Jaylen Brown. It's possible it could be Jaylen Brown. I would look first probably at someone like Drew Holiday. He got that big extension, and in part why he got so many years and so much money was because I think it was a nod to you could be traded at any point with this. So so we'll see with that one. See, Mike asked a really good question. Do you think the NBA should look into changing their suspension policies when it comes to both performance-enhancing drugs and actual crime/abuse? In no way should they be similar. Yeah, it's really hard to reconcile that. And I understand the idea of you want to be very careful with not punishing guys for things that they have not been convicted of, things they have not been found guilty of. You need to be careful with that, but you can definitely be smarter about this and, punish guys there. I think some of the performance enhancing drugs, things you got to be careful with there too, because that comes in integrity of the game type of stuff there, and you don't want to lose that. But yeah, when it seems like it's a honest mistake, like with the Bobby Portis position, it does feel very off to me that came with more punishments than we've seen for some of the other guys who have had much more serious off court issues with that. So that is that I hear you on that one. That's a little tough there to swallow. I totally get that. That's a very popular question, and unfortunately I don't have a good answer for it with that one. Regulator asks, who should be the first center off the board in this draft? Let me pull up real quick, so I want to make sure I have my right big board here with this. If I can find it. Cleaned up all the files. This probably happened to everybody watching. I cleaned up all the files on my computer, and now I can't find anything. I don't know where I put stuff. So my first center off the board is true center, maybe more of a power forward center, is Derek Queen. I really like him quite a bit at Maryland. But Kaman Malwatch is probably going to be the next guy that would be in the mix. It's going to be one of the two of them. A lot of that depends on how much you like Derek Queen as an offensive player and how much you think he can hold up as a defender. I like him quite a bit, and I like Malwatch quite a bit too. I've got them very close in this very similar tier on my draft board, but I've got Queen just ahead of him. He's shown a lot more skill. Malwatch is unfortunately getting a little bit lost in a Duke offense that is very perimeter oriented, meaning Cooper Flagg and Con Knipple have the ball a lot and are making a lot of the on-ball plays, and then there's a lot of guards doing a lot of ball handling there, and that's left Malwatch to kind of do a lot of his work is, it's the dirty work, getting on the offensive glass, occasionally a pick and roll finish. He's hit a couple jump shots throughout the course of the year too, but really nice player. I really like him. Just it's gotten a little bit lost in the shuffle of Duke having other guys. But Derek Queen has been really, really good with this. He has been excellent at Maryland. He's a kid I saw play a lot at Montverde Academy, just down the road from where I live here in Central Florida. So he is going to be really, really good too. Montverde's going to get 3 kids drafted, or 4 potentially if Azen Newell sneaks into the lottery with Cooper Flagg, Liam McNeely, Azen Newell, and Derek Queen are probably all going to be lottery picks, or at least should be very close to lottery picks. He is, this is a fun draft class. It's getting a little overblown how deep it is. It gets a little messy after you get through about the top 4 or 5 guys. Then it's a whole bunch of guys that have some real question marks, but I still think the upside is higher than it has been in a lot of recent drafts. Trevor has missed 2 weeks of front office Friday. Trade him, please. Nah, we'll maybe we'll find him. We'll see. Maybe we'll make him do the yell next Friday. We'll see. Probably not. I like doing the yell. I'm not going to give that up. All right, we're going to go for a little bit longer here. Questions are starting to slow down just a little bit with this. Here down the stretch. So Sherman says Queen's defense is terrible. I don't want him. He can't shoot. Defense isn't terrible. He's not going to be an anchor big. You're not going to build your defensive system around him in any way, but he is he can move his feet in the short areas there. One of the things that got pointed out to me when I was really trying to learn more about defense and defensive big men, it got pointed out to me by a scout with Kevin Love. And they talked about Kevin Love's short area quickness, where Kevin Love's never going to beat anybody in a race up and down the court, but Kevin Love is really good at moving his feet in the short areas. And that stood out when he did that play against Stephen Curry in the finals that year, where he's able to keep Steph in front of him, contested the shot, and then the Cavs, that was a big stop, and the Cavs went on to win the title. Derek Queen, I see very similarly. He can move his feet just enough in short areas. He's not going to step out and switch on to guards and guard them, all the way from the arc all the way to the rim. That's probably not going to happen. But getting across the lane, being big, he's tough. Shooting, watch some of the highlights. Go back and watch some of the film. He's taking and making a lot more 15 to 18 footers. And I think the jump shot will come along eventually, and he'll step out passing has been outstanding. He's a really good rebounder. Reminds me a little bit of a more skilled Zach Randolph than less physical of Zach than Zach Randolph was. He's really tough. I think he's going to be a really really good player. Moving forward in the NBA. Michael asks, would Dylan Harper fit on the Pels? 100%. He would fit on the Pels. They need a ball handling playmaker, especially with DeJounte Murray's going to be out for a chunk of the year. I think with CJ McCollum after this year, he's either going to be moving into a backup role or they may move on entirely from him this coming season, I should say, not this year right now. So I think, we'll see there with that. So I think what we're going to see with Dylan Harper, if he was to go to the Pelicans, him and DeJounte Murray could be your long-term backcourt there, and he could be really, really solid with that. And then, I think he's going to fit in a whole lot of places because the other thing with Harper, if the jump shot comes around, he can play off ball too. He's got enough size where he could be an off ball player as well. He's going to be really, really tough. I really like him quite a bit as a player. I think he's going to be really good. Jovian Morales asks, do you think Pritchard has run away with the Sixth Man of the Year award? Maybe. I think it's close with that. I think if he keeps having games like he did last night, obviously, he's probably going to run away with it. He's been so good with that one. So, with hitting threes, he was terrific last night. He's just been everything you kind of want in a six man. That award often goes to who scores the most off the bench, and he's way, way up there. So I think there's a real chance that we see that. Ryan says, why don't the Lakers start Gabe and DFS and realign Austin and Rui to the bench to balance the lineups? How much film do teams need to make adjustments? Yeah, I mean, maybe we could see them eventually go that way. I think with Austin Reeves, he's been such an important player. You don't necessarily want to put him on the bench. And Luka and LeBron are going to play so much that you're going to have a lot of overlapping minutes anyway. I don't know that the first 6 minutes of the game and 6 minutes of the second half is going to make that big of a difference with that. So, I'm not entirely sure that's where I would go. I do think Finney Smith may end up moving in there. Problem is, though, without a true big that's all over the glass and does the things that Anthony Davis was doing, kind of need Rui Hachimura for a little bit more size there. But all those guys are going to play plenty for the Lakers down the stretch. Sebastian asks, who's the best center in the draft? Can the Lakers potentially get one if they included Dalton in the future first? I mean, it would depend on where you're trying to trade up to and who has the pick. You're probably going to have to get into the back half of the lottery to have a shot at Queen or Malwatch. Those are the two best centers in the draft. And there's some other guys like I personally really like Janai Broom quite a bit. You might be able to wait a little later, more in the Lakers range. A lot of teams are very high on Danny Wolf. I like him too. Thomas Sorber of Georgetown. He might be a 4-5 type center. And then you got some guys that are going to probably be priority second round picks, meaning they go early in the second round. Guys like Ryan Kalkbrenner from Creighton, Hunter Dickinson, maybe of Kansas, Alex Condon at Florida if he comes out, Rocco Zakarski, who's playing over in Australia. Those are all guys that you could get a little bit later that could play with that. Here's the issue for the Lakers is I don't know that you want to be trading first round picks for a rookie center. It was okay with Mark Williams, a little bit more established guy. So I think that made a little bit more sense. The challenge is if you're trading Connect and then a future first, you better feel 100% certain that whoever you're getting can come in and be your long-term starting center there with that. Let's see here. Jason, thoughts on Ryan Dunn getting DMP? Suns fans are pissed. I don't blame them. I don't get it. I don't understand why he's not playing. I would play Dunn and my guy Oso, who I love. I'd be playing both of them off the bench. I think they really could help quite a bit with the Suns, especially defensively. But I think they're leaning to they want guys with a little bit more offense on the floor, and kind of is what it is. So I don't know. Mike Budenholzer's a little bit old school too. Doesn't always trust the young players the way we do. Andrew asks, do you think the Spurs will tank after losing Wemby? I don't think they're going to directly tank. I think they're just going to be bad. I think they're going to have a hard time winning games, with that. So I don't think we'll, see them openly tank by shutting a whole bunch of guys down or anything. I just think they're going to run into trouble when they get into the better teams in the West the rest of the way here. Draymond Red asks, ideal offseason for the Magic? Shooting, shooting, shooting. Got to get shooters in, ideally playmakers. For them, I think would be big. There, if you can get a couple more guys who can do a little bit of something as far as secondary, tertiary creation, off Apollo and Franz, that would be huge. But you got to get more shooting on that roster one way or another. I don't necessarily know how. It's probably gonna have to be through trade, but you got to figure that out. You have to get more shooting there. Would I agree there are no Lively or Gafford type centers in this draft for the Lakers? I'll watch kind of fits that mold a little bit there. I think Thomas Sorber could be that. Those are probably the two guys. The other guys are that I've mentioned before, like Derek Queen, Janai Broom, Danny Wolf. Those guys are a little more ground bound. They've got some shooting ability. All those guys can step out a little bit or playmaking ability. Some of them have both. But yeah, I mean, the kind of more like I think Gafford and Lively aren't exactly the same players. Gafford's a lot more rugged, where Lively's a more of a lob thread athlete type of guy. So yeah, I would say Malwatch and Sorber are probably the two closest to what those guys do in the NBA. All right. I will go here. What would you do if you were the Bulls going forward? Kind of see it through now. Try to trade Nikola Vucevic this offseason if you can. Get him moved on from. I think it's maybe time to move Patrick Williams, see if a change of scenery helps get his career going, and then just kind of keep going with the guys you have. I like that they're starting Modest Buzelis, and they're really giving him the opportunity to play and play a lot. I think that would be huge for them there. So I think that's the way I would kind of go with that one is just keep moving forward with the kids, and I don't think you need to do a whole lot. Jose asked about Chris Paul. We already talked about this. It would have to be, I think, Chris Paul going to the Spurs and saying I'd like to be bought out, and then maybe that could happen, but I don't know. I'm not sure with that. Luke asked, how much cap space can the Lakers get to in 20? None. No, they're not going to have cap space. They're going to be way over the cap with the guys that they have. Cyrax says, why isn't Portland starting Scoot? They're starting this weird big lineup because they're still committed to giving Jeremy Grant a ton of minutes. I have no problem with starting Kamara and Denny Avdia. Those have been probably their two best players this season all around. And then Anthony Simons is starting at the point. They're running a lot of the offense through Avdia, through Kamara, through Jeremy Grant still. Scoot's playing plenty. So as long as he's still getting his 25, 30 minutes a night, I'm okay with it. But yeah, I don't know. Portland's in a little bit of a weird spot. They're playing a lot of veterans. I think they were not upset when Jeremy Grant was out for a while, and that opened up, a few more lineup minutes. I would not be surprised if they shut him down later in the season and just go into a place where, it kind of goes, there with that. So, let's see. Luke, Luke's saying he was asking about 2026 for Lakers cap space. It's probably still none unless LeBron's retiring or going somewhere else. If not, then they're not probably going to have any. With that, I would be pretty surprised if that went there. Do you know if any NBA teams give their players free courtside seats for their family members? No, they're not allowed. When players' family members have courtside seats, they bought those seats. They do get tickets to the games, but they're not courtside seats. They're generally lower bowl seats that are okay seats. And they put all the family in one area where they're kind of with themselves, so you're not necessarily faced with dealing with a bunch of stuff. But when you see a player, friends, family sitting courtside, the player or the friends or family got those seats from the team. Generally, they were purchased too. It would be there's a lot of CBA language around tickets and all that stuff. You can go look it up if you want. You find the CBA. The easiest place to find is on the Players Association website. And then if you just search, it pulls up as a document, and then just do a find on tickets, and you get all the ticket related language in the CBA that you could ever want. There's a whole lot in there with that. Yeah, Jason Tatum's mom sits courtside because Jason Tatum bought 2 courtside seats when he was drafted by the Celtics. That's where his mom and Deuce. That's where their seats come from there. And Deuce for a while, it was always the third person there, but now Deuce, I'm pretty sure, needs to be in his own seat now. He's certainly old enough for that. Justin says, "You're the Hornets GM." Let me pull up his actual question. "You're the Hornets GM. What's your next move? See it forward with the kids. Just don't try shortcuts. I would at least explore the market for LaMelo Ball. I'm not a huge LaMelo Ball guy. He's fine, as a player. I don't know that they're ever going to win, at a high level with him. So I would at least see what's out there. What are teams willing to kind of throw your way if you're willing to move him? But yeah, we'll see with that one. Where that goes. All right, guys. Last question. I saved this one. Nick asked, "I know you used to work for Disney. Random question. Did you ever check out the short-lived NBA experience? I never did, but I heard it was cool." I loved the NBA experience. I thought it was awesome. I mean, now let's be fair and honest. It was completely built for me, but my family went. My wife and daughter had a great time there. We had a lot of fun. There was a lot of fun games in there. I think people thought you were going to go in there, maybe be able to play like 3-on-3 or play full court. That was never going to be a thing there, but I really thought it was pretty neat. I thought they did a really nice job. Obviously it's made for me. I love the NBA. I thought it was really cool. All the different features they had and things that they had there. You could go back and look on my Twitter timeline. I took a million pictures when I went there and stuff. It was a fun thing to do. But ultimately, I think what it comes down to is people don't want to run around playing sports when they're on their vacation. And if you're at Disney Springs, I think a lot of people are. This is our time to slowly stroll around, do some shopping, get some food. We're not going to go get all sweaty running around playing basketball. And that's, where it kind of fell apart and failed. They've got a new thing going in there called Level 99, which sounds like a really cool escape room type adventure game thing that'll be fun to check out when it opens. They just announced that the other day, so I'm kind of excited when that opens up to see what that ultimately looks like. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for us here on Front Office Friday. We had a blast. Trevor will be back on Monday. You all are probably excited, but no one's more excited than I am to get my buddy back in the fold here, so we can keep things moving the way we usually do, and don't have to talk the entire time. Hit a like spike on your way out. If you can hit the like button, really does help us, helps a lot more people find this show. We really appreciate everybody. We're up to we're closing in on 38,000 subscribers. We would really love to crack that number before the off season, and ideally let's push it up over 40 by the time we get to summer. It's going to be a wild off season. With Trevor and I are already calling it summer of the trade. There's going to be a million trades this summer because there's not a lot of cap space, not a lot of great free agents. So way to improve is going to be trades. You saw a crazy trade deadline. That's going to carry over into the summer, but we'll talk all that and more and all the stretch run and everything else. Trevor can give you an update on his vacation when he gets back, but we'll see you all back here on Monday. Thanks so much for hanging out with me here on a Friday. Stay safe and see ya.